Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. In this update, we're going to check out Avalanche's price chart, see what is happening in the short term and what might be the next likely move. But before we get into that, real quick, we are going to look at a very key statement that is actually, I would say, a massive deal if you understand what is behind it. So this is, in this clip, the CEO of Securitize saying that they were only able to get a European trading license because of Avalanche's technology. And I really do think this is actually worth breaking down and seeing what it truly means. Because when financial institutions want to trade real assets, like for example, stocks or maybe bonds on blockchain, okay, regulators, they require one very, very important thing, which is called finality. You see, on many blockchains, transactions are not really instantly final. And also on top of all that, there's actually always like a very small chance that they could be reversed or maybe reorganized. Now, in the crypto space, this risk is usually acceptable, but when it comes to regulated finance, okay, even like a very, 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 very small degree of uncertainty is going to be a massive problem. Now, here Avalanche approaches this quite differently because it actually uses deterministic finality, which means once a transaction is confirmed, it becomes final almost immediately and cannot really be reversed. And this is exactly the type of system that regulators need when dealing with real financial assets. Now, according to Securitize, okay, they actually had to prove that their system is using real securities in order to receive approval. And if the network could not guarantee fast and also permanent settlement, the license would not really have been guaranteed, and Avalanche was actually able to meet those requirements with ease, no problem at all, which I really do think, honestly, this is actually a rather big advantage that AVAX has over a whole lot of other competitors. Now, let's look at the bigger picture real quick here, because I do think this matters for a couple of reasons. First, Securitize is a major player in tokenization space and works closely with large institutions, so their infrastructure choice carries quite a bit of weight. Second, this reduces uncertainty for other institutions, meaning when one company successfully passes a strict regulatory approval using a specific technology, and in this case, we are talking about Avalanche's technology, okay, others can follow a similar path with a whole lot less risk, meaning what? This is going to increase the chances of Avalanche attracting quite a bit of adoption. Now, from a long-term perspective, okay, this also, I think, connects to how value is built because institutions do not really move their system frequently. Once they build on a network, they tend to stay there. And in Avalanche's case, okay, many of these systems run on custom layer ones, and operating them often requires a staking Avalanche's token. So over time, I think this is going to reduce the circulating supply by quite a bit. And if the demand is going to increase, well, okay, this is essentially the perfect formula for the price appreciation for the token in the mid to long term. Okay, very important to understand that. I do not believe that these types of news are going to have like a significant effect in like very short term price action. Absolutely not. If you want to know what's the next move in the coming maybe days and weeks, I would like to suggest just get help from Classic TA, maybe Elliot's Waves, basically the technical analysis side of stuff. But if you are also a fair value investor like me, okay, you should probably pay more attention to these types of news. And also, I would like to suggest to do your due diligence completely yourself, okay? If you completely at that point believe in the fundamentals of Avalanche, okay, when we are getting some major terrible god awful dips, okay, you're just going to have conviction to buy the dips, no problem at all, and manage to stay calm, because overall, again, you know what you are buying, and if you are patient, okay, I think you are going to down the line end up making a decent bit of money. So fundamental wise, I think in Avalanche we are fully on the right direction, and as long as I'm not proven otherwise, this is going to be my base case. Now, having said all this, let's go on the live chart and see what is happening in the short term. Okay, here we are. And if you remember the last time, that we talked about Avalanche, we were specifically around this area about, I believe it was $9.50. And the idea was that, well, okay, you could argue this is a bit of a weak area of resistance since we touched it more than a couple of times. And again, you could technically say maybe soon we are going to get a move up in order to potentially even get a break of this region. However, At the same time, I specifically mentioned that even this move up is not going to be a decent buy opportunity. Why? Two important reasons. Reason number one, if you remember, specifically came down to Elliott waves, and unfortunately right now I am still going to stick with my scenario, suggesting that this whole move on the upside overall, odds are it's just a correction structure, maybe a WXY in form of a flattened zigzag, possibly even a double zigzag. Generally, I do think this is a slow and choppy move up, meaning what? After this phase is over, maybe who knows, even it's over already, we are actually going to have yet another move down in order to visit the lows. Reason number two for why we said if we get a move up like this, it's not necessarily a buy opportunity, came down to classic TA, meaning supports and resistances. And although sure, we said breaking this level would be technically an optimistic sign, however, do not lose sight of the fact that above here we are having like the real deal area of resistance, which is from weekly and daily, and also to a degree I believe it was also monthly resistance at the same time. Meaning what? If we are having under here some short-term, very short-term area of resistance, it's not really going to matter a whole lot. The one that we really need to keep our eyes on is this thing right in here, and we said as long as we are staying under it, we need to be very patient. And when you combine this with the Elliott wave scenario suggesting this is a correction, okay, you do get the overall picture. Meaning what? Yup, odds are in Avalanche right now, at least we're not necessarily looking optimistic, and maybe we're gonna have a move down in order to again visit the lows first, and then if we end up having a bounce back, a very strong move in form of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without a lot of overlapping of the waves, I guess it can be a buy opportunity. However, please pay attention. Even in that case, right around the highs is not really a buy. Why? Because after a 5-wave up, one way or the other, what are we going to have? Yup, a correction structure on the downside. And this, okay, I guess assuming that you are able to completely identify the proper subwaves, can be a beautiful buy or maybe even long opportunity for like very short term. But right now we are definitely far away from such a setup, and at the moment I would even argue maybe this is a bit of a short opportunity. Why? Simple reason. If I just do this, okay, I'm thinking probably we are having an impulse here, and yep, I think basically now we have taken this important slope, and this means probably this is just an A, B, C zigzag. And pay attention to what do we have in this area. I'm thinking probably a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down. So essentially you are having 5 down, correction up. Well, this is a short opportunity suggesting maybe on a higher degree we're gonna have a 1, 2, and the next move is going to be a good one down into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So for the next 48 to 72 hours in Avalanche, expect a rather decent continuation of our move on the downside, which in it we may very well go down and take the lows in here, which the lowest one is about $8.50. But if you are again a bit of a fair value investor, these could be, I guess, buy the dip opportunities for you in order to get your average purchase as low as possible, and hopefully in the long term end up making a very good amount of money. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Avalanche's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.